Okay, good morning class. The topic that we shall be doing today is the different types of landforms, alright, resulting from the endogenous processes, or the different types of landforms that are formed because of the endogenous forces that is exerted from within the Earth's surface. Now you know that because of the endogenous forces, different types of landforms have been formed on the Earth's surface. Alright, now because of these forces, some type of tension or compression is acted on the surface. Now these type of landforms, or these type of the formation of the landforms, have been divided into three parts. Okay, now the first part or the first type of formation is the continents and the oceans. So the formation of the continents and the oceans has been grouped as part 1. Now in the second part is the formation of the mountains, the plateaus and the plains. Alright, now in the third part of the formation of landforms falls the formation of mountain sections, the formation of the hills, the formation of the valleys and the deltas. So these are the three different divisions. Okay, now in this chapter we are going to do about the second division, that is the formation of the mountains, right, the plateaus and the plains. Now in this section, in this part of the class, I am going to do about the formation of the mountains. Now firstly you have to learn the meaning of mountain. Now what do you mean by mountain? A mountain is that block of land which has a higher elevation than its surrounding areas. So please look at the board. Now what is a mountain? A mountain, suppose this is the flat surface. Now what is a mountain? A mountain is that part of the Earth's surface which is higher than the surrounding areas. Alright, so you can see that this mountain has a height, okay, and the surrounding area is flat. So any structure, alright, any structure which has height, alright, the sides are inclined, that means it is a slope. Alright, this is a slope, it has height, and the top is either, it is a narrow, it has a narrow top, that means the breadth at the top of the mountain is not much, or sometimes it may have a flat top. Okay, it may have a flat top or it may have a narrow top. So according to Professor Flinch, right, according to Professor Flinch, he has given the definition of a mountain. According to Professor Flinch, any structure which has a height of at least 900 meters above sea level and the slopes are inclined at least 25 degrees to 35 degrees to the horizontal plane. Alright, so I repeat, any structure or any landform which has a height of more than 900 meters plus, more than 900 meters, and the slopes are inclined at least 25 to 30 degrees to the flat horizontal plane. Alright, now this is the definition of the mountain. Now mountains are also of various types. Okay, before I teach that, now like I said, any structure which has a height of 900 meters plus is known as a mountain, and any structure which is less than 900 meters, which any structure, a mountain kind of structure, but its height is less than 900 meters, is called a hill. is called a hill. So the only difference between a mountain and a hill is its height. Any structure above the excuse me, any structure that is shaped like this, which has a height of more than 900 meters, is a mountain, and less than 900 meter is a hill. Now, so you know the definition of a mountain. Now the first kind of mountain we are going to do is a kind of fold mountain. Alright, the kind of fold mountain. Now what do you mean by a fold mountain? Now when we were learning this chapter, in the initial phase, I had taught you all about compression. Alright, now a compression force is a force which is acting from two different directions but towards the same point. Alright, towards the same point. Now when the direction, alright, now we are talking about the forces that is acting on the surface of the earth. Alright, now when the forces are moving towards the same point, that means the force is pushing this landmass towards the right hand side and it is moving towards the left hand side. So what happens here is, because of the force, some folds, alright, some folds are formed. So any mountain which is formed because of the compression forces that is acting at the same point is known as a fold mountain. Now let us learn about the fold mountain, citing an example. Okay. Now the most important or the most famous one that you all know, alright, being Indians or being part of Asia, is the northern mountains, or also known as the Himalayas. Northern mountains, also known as the Himalayas. Alright, now the Himalayas, now you have to learn about the fold mountain, citing an example. Alright, so you may get a question stating, describe a fold mountain by citing an example. So let's learn about the fold mountain. Now, millions of years ago, almost around 71 million of years ago, the southern part or the landmass of India was part of another landmass. Alright, India was not part of Asia. Initially, it was part of a landmass known as Gondwana. Okay, this is just for your knowledge. Okay. Gondwana. Alright, Gondwana landmass. Now this part was in the south, in the southern part. This was a part of Gondwana landmass, and the top part, which was a part of Eurasia, which is a combination of the continent Europe and Asia. So initially, India, the landmass of India, was a part of another tectonic plate known as Gondwana. Now, Eurasia, the landmass of Eurasia was on top and the landmass of Gondwana was down. Now, in between was the Tethys, Tethys Sea. Alright, now this Tethys Sea was extremely narrow. Alright, and it was also shallow. Okay, let's talk about the shallowness of the sea. That means the depth of the Tethys Sea was not very much. Now what happened is, after millions and millions of years, this Gondwana landmass, it started breaking up. Okay, it started breaking up. That is how the continents of Australia, South America, India, and many others like Africa was also formed. Alright, so the Gondwana landmass started breaking. Okay, because of the cracks that started taking place in the Gondwana land, it started breaking, and now it has formed the southern part of India, Australia, South America and Africa. So now let us just learn about India. Now the southern part of India, which is almost like this. Okay, just a rough diagram. Now this part of India started moving upwards. Alright, it started moving upwards, and later on, now let's remove the Tethys Sea. Later on, it joined with Europe and the landmass of Europe and Asia. So that is how it became a part of Asia. Alright. Now this Gondwana landmass, it started moving upwards. Now you can see that the force that is acting is towards the same point. The force is moving this landmass upwards, and this force is moving this landmass downwards. So what happened is, because of two great land masses crashing or clashing against each other, this part of the land started compressing, alright, or started folding. Folding occurred on this part of the land because of the compression force from both sides. Okay, so that is how the Himalayas were formed. Now before that, now like I said, there was the Tethys Sea present, and the depth of the Tethys Sea was very shallow. That means it did not have a great height. And you know that rivers and seas brings down sediments, okay, and these sediments are deposited on the riverbed. So what happened here is, now when the Tethys Sea, because of the erosional forces, it was bringing here lots and lots of sediments were being deposited. Okay, now you can see that lots and lots of layers were formed, different layers were formed. Now if you look at, if this was Eurasia and this was the Gondwana landmass, the forces were acting towards each other, and the sediments deposited by the Tethys Sea, now it had no place to move, so hence a folding started forming, and then it started increasing in height, and later on, that is how the Himalayas were formed. Okay, because of the deposition. Now how do you know that these mountains, or how do you know that the Himalayas were formed because of the folding activity? Now in the Himalayas, fossils, marine fossils. Now fossils means the remains of dead plants and animals, and marine means those plants are related to water. Alright, so marine fossil means the plants and animals which are found in the oceans and the seas, or the the water bodies. The remains of these plants have been found at different layers of the Himalayas. Alright, now how can this be possible? Now, it is only possible when we come to a conclusion stating that the Himalayas was once a riverbed. That means the Himalayas have been formed because of the deposition of the sediments brought down by the Tethys Sea. Okay, so that is how the fold mountains are formed. The fold mountains are divided into two types. One is the young fold mountain, and the other one is the old fold mountain. Only two divisions. Now what is the difference between the old young fold mountain and the old fold mountain? Only two types. Okay, there are only two differences. Now as the name suggests, these young fold mountains have been formed around 25 million years ago. Alright, young fold mountains have been formed around 25 million years ago, and the old fold mountains have been formed at least around or older than 200 million years ago. All right, 200 million years ago. The other one is old fold mountains do not have a greater height. Excuse me. Old fold mountains are shorter than the young fold mountains. All right. And the other difference, that is not so important, but just for your knowledge, the young fold mountains are still changing its height. This 2 million years ago it has been formed, and the height has stopped. All right, now erosional activities are taking place, but in the young fold mountains the change in the shape and the height or the structure is still taking place. All right, so two main differences: 25 million years ago, all right, and these are still changing, they are greater in height. And the old one is, the old fold mountains have been formed at least 200 million years ago, and these are shorter than the young fold mountains. Now the main example of the young fold mountain, this is very important, you have to know. All right, and please remember, you have to, whenever you are describing anything, you have to give examples, especially in geography. All right, so the young fold mountains, the example is the Himalayas, all right, the Rockies and the Andes. The Himalayas is in Asia. All right, now you have the Rockies in North America and the Andes in South America. So the Himalayas, the Rockies and the Andes is Asia, North America and South America. Now the second type of mountain, the examples of the old fold mountains are the Ural Mountains, the Appalachians, the Tiashans and the Nanshan. All right. Now the second type of mountain that we will be doing today is the block mountain, and this is an easier one. All right, easier one. Fold mountains and the block mountains. Now you have to remember that block mountains have been formed because of faults, just the opposite of fold. The second one is the block mountain. Now block mountains are formed when there are parallel faults. All right, two or more than two faults that takes place on the surface of the earth, Now what happens is, because of these faults, some part of the land gets elevated, some parts of the land moves down, decreases in height. So we are going to do what are these known as. Okay, what are these known as? That part of the land which moves downwards forms something else, and that part of the land which moves upwards forms something else. All right. Okay. Okay. Now you can see that because of the cracks or parallel cracks that takes place on the surface of the earth. Remember we talked about tension. Now tension is a force which is moving away. All right. Okay. Now when these land masses from the fault, it moves away from the fault, what happens is some part of the land moves down. Initially this part of the land also had the same height as the surface, but because of the forces which is acting in the opposite direction, these land masses moved away. Okay, these land masses moved away, and some part of the land started protruding or pointing outwards. So you can see that a valley has been formed here. All right, and a mountain has been formed. Now this type of valley is known as a rift valley. And this type of mountain which has been formed is known as the block mountain. So you can see that it looks like a block of stone. This is known as a block mountain. Okay, so today I shall be doing only till here. I shall be doing only till here. This is we've done the fold mountain, that is the two different types of fold mountain, old fold mountains and young fold mountains with the examples, and the second one is the block mountains, which is formed because of the parallel faults which is acting on the surface of the earth. All right, thank you.